Congratulations, you made it to the end of day 6. That is, wow, the end is in sight. You are this close. So not to make you nervous, but everything should be coming together at this point. At least I hope it's coming together. You've just had 2 days that were hopefully relatively unscheduled because there wasn't anything officially due for those 2 days. And now you're into the final 3 days of the course. It's a big push towards the finish line, so you're almost there. My final thoughts for today are actually referring to something that you had do right before you had your 2-day break, and it was in the first part of your implementation plan. And let me point out what exactly I'm talking about. One of the goals for today was to think about that while social entrepreneurship is really about making a profit, it is essential that the finances of educational innovations be responsibly managed. And in particular, you had to write a section for the first half of your implementation plan that talked about financial sustainability. So not that money makes the world go round, because I don't want to go that direction, but if you want your innovative idea, program, project, whatever it is, to actually happen, there has to be some financial resource or capital base for it to build upon. It's not just going to be all volunteer or all for free, as much as that would be wonderful. So you didn't have that as officially part of your application activity today. You'll see that you just had the second half of your implementation strategy. But I did want to talk a little bit about the financial sustainability function of your strategic plan. So if you were to look at page 31 in your this book that you can download, the Wolkenkreitz one. Let me go back to page 31 now that I've scrolled away from it. Shame on you, Alex. Almost there. Oh, now I went past it. Okay, there it is. You'll see that there's a financial sustainability section that starts right there. It is a great section. Hopefully you've already read it. It's something that I think that you should really pay attention to. But it talks about, it talks about capitalization, which let me make this much bigger. So capitalization, there it is. Identifying the total amount of philanthropic investment needed, not including earned income and future funds that have already been committed, in order to execute the business plan and develop a plan for acquiring the necessary resources for phase 1. And then financial sustainability is developing a financial sustainability plan that identifies a reliable and at times diversified revenue mix that will ultimately allow you to predict your annual revenue and its sources with reasonable certainty. All right, so a lot of businessy speak here, but what it's essentially saying is you have to have some way that you're generating revenue. This doesn't mean that you're generating a profit, but this does mean that you have money coming in, and it has to be predictable. That is the key thing. You have to be able to predict what your annual revenue will be, so then you can plan for what you're doing on a year-to-year basis as your innovative plan or project or program moves forward. So that is really key, right? Having that plan for your revenue stream. And what do you do with that? Like, how do you do that? Well, you can estimating costs. All this is good. But I wanted to talk about some of the ways that you can think about having reliable resources. So there are long-term repeat and performance-based funding sources from foundations, from individuals, from governments, from corporations, and from fees that are generated for services rendered or something else, right? All of these are areas that you can think about in relation to your financial sustainability plan. And what I want to do is I want to look right here. So when you're making this idea, when you're coming up with this idea, just to beat this dead horse, earned income streams from government fee-for-service and membership fees are one way to have predictable revenue streams. having commitments from individual donors and corporate partners who say that they will provide a specific amount of money on a regular basis, given that your organization, your innovative, whatever it is, continues to do whatever it is they want you to continue to do. In other words, what you're doing needs to align with what they want to fund, which that's the kind of donor and corporate partner you'd look for anyway. Those are good to have. Right? So you need to have those kinds of people around. I don't know where this just went. And if we were to scroll down, there are these little pie charts they give us on this page, where they're looking at how you can shift from that startup phase where you often have money from perhaps venture capitalists, if it's something that is supposed to generate revenue, maybe they'll want part of that, or from foundations if you get a grant to sort of launch your project or your program or whatever your innovation is. That is all unpredictable revenue because it's usually something that is for a specific amount of time. It has an end date. It's not necessarily renewable, or there's not a guarantee renewability option that goes with it. And you want to transition from what they show here, this is sort of the startup phase, to what they show here, where this unpredictable revenue portion is significantly reduced. So you're always going to have some revenue that's going to be slightly unpredictable. But hopefully there is something more there that is maybe there's a service or a fee that you can garner from a service you provide as part of your innovation. So it might not be, we're not talking about generating a profit necessarily. We're talking about simply requiring a fee for providing whatever it is that you're providing. So if you're doing an after-school tutoring program that is benefiting local communities and schools, then it might be something that the state or the government would fund on a continuous basis in order to supplement the education that, let's say, at-risk children and youth are receiving in their particular school community. Or it might be something that could be part of an overall policy initiative for a particular region or district or Ministry of Education that they would then agree to fund on a regular basis. You also have, again, your corporate partners and individual giving. So do not underestimate the power of philanthropy. But there is a lot of work that it takes to generate that income. In other words, you really have to, quite frankly, be a good development person. And by development, I don't mean development in terms of developing communities. I mean development in terms of fundraising. And so maybe thinking about how that is a permanent part of your organization's structure and responsibilities will be important. There are events that you can plan and offer that would have perhaps a fee for attendance, and that can then be annually done. These could be fun things like 5Ks and other sorts of events that people would pay to be a part of, not necessarily because they're in love with your idea, although they might be, but more because it's an event that will generate some revenue. It goes to a good cause, that would be your innovation, and people will want to be a part of it because it's fun or because it's something that they see they can contribute to without, quite frankly, making a bigger commitment of time. Right? So think about what your financial sustainability model is, and think about the ways that you can push it forward, because that's going to be incredibly important for you as you continue to move through the final stages of preparing your proposal or your plan for your innovative idea. All right. So those are my final thoughts. I know that you're revising and revising and revising. Continue to do that. I think I've already said here, it's all about getting to the finish line now, right? And so I know that you have a lot going on, but you have to now at this point take a few extra minutes, or maybe an extra hour, until the end of this class, which is only 2 more days actually, to work on your ongoing draft where you're putting all the written parts together into one spot so that your final assignment will be ready to go in 2 days. All right. As always, send me an email if you have a question. I'll respond as soon as possible. Cheers.